guys, the following video does include spoilers, so make sure to read the title of this video. If you haven't read those chapters, please press pause, read up, and I will be waiting for you when you get back. I need them to kiss. Hey guys, welcome back to Lore Book Club. I am your host, Cassidy, and this week's read of Glow of the Everflame sent my heart a pitter-pattering. I can't put into words, 1, how much I love this series, 2, how stressed I am in this series, and I know it's only going to get worse, and 3, how much I ship Prince Luther and DM Bellator is a sickness. So let's get into it. We left off last week with DM running smack dab into Henry's chest, and Henry's gonna kill her. No shocker there. Henry sucks. I hate him. I hate everything about him. He pisses me off. He has from like day dot. There's something about that blonde. He pisses me off. He's like looking at the crown, absolutely gagged, which makes sense, but he like starts unsheathing his sword. The guards are like, whoa, what's going on? And she's like, I need to talk to you in private. He's finally convinced his dad to be a courier for the palace, which is so bad. He's a guardian. And like Luther knows that. He shouldn't be allowed access to the palace. So they start walking, and then Henry's staring into a room, and she comes over and he's like, that's the one who killed the little mortal boy. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, DM, ask a question. There's 2 people standing there. And I'm gonna guess it wasn't Luther that killed the boy. It was Aemon, which like tracks 100% of his personality. This is like the miscommunication. Just ask the question. Imagine if she had just been like, oh, which one? We could have avoided all of this turmoil that DM feels surrounding Luther. After DM explains that once she started having these visions, she confided in her mother. She was like, you have a disease, and started drugging her with flame root powder to get rid of any signs of being descended. And Henry's like, not really believing it. He's like humming and hawing. He's looking at her like she's a pariah. And she starts like freaking out. Like she's like, Henry, this is us. Like it's always been us. I'm the same person. I love you. I want to marry you. And she says, please, Henry, I begged, stay with me, rule with me, be my king. I threw my Kindle across the room. Be my king. Henry. Oh, I'm sick. You don't mean that, DM. You literally cannot mean that. He starts getting all these thoughts in his head, and he's like, yeah, they start being about to bang, and then it's like, and Prince Luther's at the door. Thank God. I don't need to read a sex scene between Henry and DM because I hate him. Luther's like, Henry needs to get out of here, and Henry's like, all of these people should be bowing to us. I'm your king. And I was like, ew. Like if I was DM, immediately ick. He's just so icky. Everything about him is just so calculating and horrifying. Not a fan at all. Never have been, never will be. And he's clearly using her like 100%. I think the minute he knew she was descended, he hated her. So it's like, I'm going to use DM as access to the palace, access to the throne, to then just like kill all the descended, DM included. But she's just not thinking with her full noggin. She's blind to young love. The kiss is mentioned, and Luther says, but rest assured, my queen, when I do kiss you, there will be no confusion. You will know that I have claimed you, and I won't have any desire to deny it. He didn't say if, he said when. And when is it gonna be? Because I'm frothing at the bit for like a good smooch. DM informs Luther that she's accepted his proposal, which is just a mess, and that Aemon knows. So he has to go make a deal with Aemon that if she brings him to the ball, he will keep the secret for the time being. She should have never accepted that proposal. And I know why she did it, because she was like terrified of losing everything that she like holds dear in her life, but like I think she was just a little bit too impulsive in that moment. Luther kind of starts crashing out and is like, we need to talk, but not here. He like drags her to his chambers, and she's like, oh my God, this is where I woke up after the armory attack. So she's already been in Luther's bed. And I'm sure that will happen again. And in his room, there's a bust of the Blessed Mother. And we learn that he is completely devoted to the Blessed Mother. So he is like God-fearing, and it's like implied that she saved him from something when he was younger, so I think he like feels like he owes her a debt maybe. He then gives DM this leather-bound book, and he says, "This book is my death warrant," Luther said quietly. "It's evidence of treason 100 times over. Even if you would forgive it as queen, others would ensure that I paid the price. And inside this book is thousands of half-descended, half-mortal children, some that were saved, what they looked like, who their parents were, where they ended up, and the ones that unfortunately were not able to be saved. So Diem's like absolutely gagged, but she's like so happy that he hasn't been killing these children, even though it's technically his duty to carry out executions. And he's like, listen, if he is who you want, we will make it work, but you have to get through the coronation before anything about Henry would ever be announced, because people just will absolutely riot. And he says, I showed you this because I need you to know I do not speak out of prejudice. I would put my life on the line to protect a mortal. I already have many times. His voice softened. But if you take this step, I fear the Amerian army itself could not protect him, and I do not wish to see one more person in this realm buried because of their bloodline. He's such a good man, and he's so tormented and like so plagued with probably so many regrets, but he's just in his core a good man. He's one of my top 10 book boyfriends in the history of reading. I really like him. Through all of this, we also learned that that was their little side hustle. Diem's mother and him were working together to smuggle out the children, and he says, your mother had a habit of making grand threats she had no intention of following through on. A spark of amusement gleamed in his eyes, just like her daughter. They just need to fall madly in love. There's so much like love brewing between them, and I know from Luther's side it's going to be something bigger. Like, I don't know if he had like a vision from Mother Lumnos herself. I definitely think he believes that Diem is his mate, but there's just so many bits that aren't adding up. Diem is also struggling with the fact that in theory she should want him dead, but slowly he is becoming like her biggest confidant, and she's torn between wanting to kill him and throw her arms around him and say thank you. And I think that because he is just like this solid figure for her and is like really there to help and has like been extremely supportive, it makes sense as to why she feels that way. I just hope he's not using her, because that would be crazy. And she says, like a moth to a flame, I was drawn to his glow, even as my wings burned and curled in the intensity of his fire. Glow of the Everflame. And Diem agrees that she will take Aemon to the ball. Thank goodness, but Diem sends Henry a letter and cancels his invite and is like, hey babe, it's not gonna work this time, maybe next time. And I'm like, Henry just needs to go away. And also though, because we haven't seen Henry in a long time, what is he and the Guardians plotting? Like, it can't be good. And now that he knows that Diem is the queen, what did he bring back to the Guardians, and what are they conspiring in their seedy little tavern with Mr. Fedora? It's stressing me out because I don't want anything bad to happen to Diem. Diem goes down to find Teller and Lily in the basement, and they're kind of like holding hands, and then she's like, hi, and they're like, oh no, sorry, we weren't doing anything. And she's like, sure.
Sure, Jan.
We then learn that Luther is also the Warden of Light, and Uncle Gareth is Warden of the Shadows, and basically that means their word is as good as law. So they're like top tier dogs, and if it's not Diem speaking, it's one of them. Teller and Diem then realize together that their lifespans are going to be very different, and they just break down in each other's arms. And it's so sad because like one of the biggest things I've been loving about these books is how Penn Cole writes families, and I just like root for them so deeply, and I'm hoping that there's like, I don't know, a spell that can turn everybody descended. Like, I don't want Teller or Andre to die. I don't want her to lose her family. And then Teller says, if Lumnos chose you, there must be a reason. There's something she sees in you, something you're meant to do, and you have to trust her. And it's just so true. Like, no matter how scared or stressed Diem is, she needs to hold on to the fact that like, this wasn't chance. Like, this was given to her for a reason, and she needs to figure out what that reason is. I think it's to unite people, like maybe to unite the mortals and the descended. Like, it's been so long since there's been like a united front in Lumnos, and maybe finally she's like, nah. We need to work together, y'all. Teller's having an easier time at school now that his sister is the Queen of Lumnos, which tracks. And he's like, I'm gonna get the tea on all the different houses for you. He wants to see her magic, and she's like, okay. And then she realizes like, she just like can't. So he's like, yeah, maybe another time. And it's like clear he's disappointed, and she's disappointed. And I don't know though why from the minute after the dungeon when Diem released all that magic, why she wasn't immediately in training with her magic. We know somebody's going to challenge her. She's perceived as way too weak for somebody in another house not to challenge her. So I don't know why nobody's prepping her to use her magic. I don't get it. For the next few days, things are looking up, and I fear they won't last. But Luther shows up at her door. He got an absolute whooping from his dad about not being a good advisor. And she's like, I'm a grown woman, I can handle myself. And he's like, trust me, I know you're a grown woman. I just keep getting the giggles reading this book. Like, I feel like I'm like 16 years old being like, on Wattpad. And the pull and pull between Luther and Diem of almost this like cat and mouse game of like showing a little bit more leg, or like when he brushes the back of her hand, is so unbelievably yummy to me as a reader. Because like the one thing Penn Cole is like giving me on a platter is unbelievable yearning and tension. And I love it because it's going to make the reward of something more sexual, a kiss, if it's a full bang, whatever we get, it's going to be so rewarding. Diem then says, fighting with him, teasing with him, it was like lighting a fuse and closing my eyes, never knowing just how close I was to destruction. And she realizes in that moment, oh my God, I don't hate him. Like, I think I like him. And she's like going through the motion. She's like, I'm supposed to be betrothed to Henry. I accepted a proposal. But then there's Prince Luther. And I'm like, yeah, babe. And the answer's Prince Luther. Cancel the engagement. You don't have a ring. Diem can also like feel his magic, like it's a tangible thing. And I know that you can only feel magic if you're stronger than somebody, but she never really mentions being able to feel anybody else's magic. And it makes me feel like there is a mating bond between them. Or like for it to be so visceral of like feeling like that she can actually touch his magic. Not the only thing she's gonna be touching. We also learned that on King Arthur's council was Luther, Remus, Uncle Gareth, Aemon, and Taryn. All boys. It's a boys' club. But Diem lets him know that Eleanor is officially invited to join the council and that she is her first official advisor, which he's not really mad about. He's like, I think it's a good idea to have a woman on the council, and she's super great with like all things culture based. So he's like a supporter of this, and he suggests Alex also joining for another woman as head of the military. And she immediately pictures Alex and Henry on a battlefield and kind of crashes out, and she's like, I'll think about it. And I'm like, ugh. Henry needs to do something that is unforgivable in Diem's eyes. That's the only way their relationship will ever end. And I think it will have to do with a child, because that seems to be Diem's like hard red line. Any harm that comes towards a child is like unforgivable. Luther's also like kind of dogging out his family, and he implies the same towards hers. And she says, careful, Luther. You may not be loyal to every member of your family, but I am to mine. And it's so true. Like, she would live, die, breathe, do anything for her family. And I think currently her family includes Henry. And I'm just guessing by the end of the book, that is going to be not the case anymore. We then meet Iana, who's like a hottie and a war girl. And she's like in her fighting leathers. And she's calling Luther Lou. And I got the ick so bad. Like, I wanted to punch this girl. Her attitude towards Diem is so despicable. I don't like her one bit. And like, I kind of get it. She's like, that's my man. Get away from him. But also, I don't like her. So it's a no for me. And it was an immediate no for me when Alex is like, this is your queen. And she goes, unchallenged queen. I was like, you're going to catch these hands, mama. Get out of my face. We then also learned that all the guards in the castle are from the House Courbois, and Iana is not from House Courbois. And it is kind of funny though, because Diem's kind of like crashing out over the thought of Luther dating another woman, and I'm like, mama, you're engaged. And now maybe she understands why Luther is like low-key crashing out about her, because there is something there. They definitely both feel it. So it's just a matter of like accepting it. While Iana and Luther are having a little chitty chat in the corner, Diem's talking to Alex, and she's like, your father, I would like love to meet him. And she's like, I can introduce you. They're both so well respected in like descended and mortal armies that I really like that there's like a connection there, instead of Alex just feeling like an additional character. It's less like a direct connection to Diem and something to her life, which makes her more trustworthy. Luther and Diem start talking about Iana, and mates get brought up. And Luther says, a descended mate is forever. We do not give our heart away unless we are certain beyond all doubt that the person we choose will stand by our side no matter what fate the kindred have in store for us, in this life and all that comes after. Shards of his magic clashed in his gaze. I will not presume to tell you who to choose. I can only hope that you have friends, as I did, who care about you enough to tell you when you're being a blind fool. So I get why Iana's pissed, because I think she was expecting to be queen consort, etc., etc., mated to Prince Luther, and it just doesn't seem like it's really working out in their favor. She then double checks with Luther, being like, do you think I can trust Eleanor? And he's like, 100% yes. And then she asks his opinion on Henry, and he says, if a man made you doubt whether his love for you would survive anything, he does not deserve you. 1,000,000% facts. And you know who doesn't deserve her? Henry. I don't like this guy. Anytime he shows up on my page, I'm like, ugh. Keep it moving, cowboy. You're cut. They go in to meet Remus, and Remus is like, Luther, you can leave. And he's like, I'm still acting crown until the coronation, and you're not needed here. So Luther begrudgingly, learned that from the book. Someone's always begrudgingly doing something. He leaves, and Diem and Remus are alone for a chat. Now, these two are always going toe to toe. They're both smart, they're both cunning, and they really are both cut from the same cloth, just after similar but different goals. I think they both want power and they don't want to lose power. So there is an element of actually working together. However, I don't trust Remus at all. So I feel like he has a undisclosed motive that he's not telling anybody about. And I just think Remus hates his son because he's more powerful than him. And I think there's a lot of ego involved. As we've seen in House Courbois, there's so much ego involved of a power struggle from your father to your son to your cousins to your mother. Everybody wants more power. So anybody who has more is a means to an end rather than an actual relationship. Now, these two start talking about the challenging and that it's not really looking good for Miss Diem. And they go into a bonded bargain. Really, Diem? You didn't want to maybe talk to somebody about this before? And we learn under a bonded bargain, if a party breaks an agreement, they lose their magic until they follow through on the terms. If they cannot, their magic is gone forever. The bargains are sealed using the forging magic that created the 9 realms, so even a crown can't escape the consequences. Why would you go into one of these with Remus? Diem, my girl, you did not use your head on this one. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't understand why they did this. Couldn't she have gone into a bonded bargain with Luther? And when Luther finds out that she's in a bonded bargain with Remus, he is going to crash the fuck out, just like I did. But because it's under the premise that mortals will be saved and she will get the crown, and Remus puts this bargain in a pretty little package and sells it to Diem like he is a top salesman. He's going door to door, and with Diem, she answered yes, and I just know she shouldn't have. And as they're talking about the mortals, and he's like, well, a lot of the descended think that King Arthur was soft on them, she kind of loses the plot, and all her careful bravado shatters. And then she thinks, it wasn't the violence-loving malice of the godhood, but a reminder of who I was at my core. A woman who cared deeply and would fight tooth and nail for those who needed defending. And that is my girl Diem. It doesn't matter if it's, at this point, really, it doesn't matter if it's a mortal, if it's descended, if it's anybody. Her ideology is just so, I am going to protect. And I think her seeing behind the curtain and learning about different types of descended people, and also being in the Guardians and learning about these kind of worse mortals, she's realizing that everybody is very similar and there's two sides of the coin on both sides of the game. They do come to the agreement that the smartest decision is for her to play this vapid queen who doesn't know what she's doing, and that all questions will be deferred to the regent until after the coronation. And Diem promises him more power if he's successful, and that's really smart because at the end of the day, that's all people are interested in. He doesn't care about her, he cares about himself. And if she is coronated and follows through on that promise, that he will have more power, then in his mind, he's won. They then talk about the ball, and she's super smart by not admitting that she already plans on going with Aemon, so she lets him come up with that solution. And she's like, oh, great idea. And he's like, aren't I so smart? And I'm like, no, I hate you. I don't like him. No, let me rephrase. I don't like Uncle Gareth. Remus is the better shitty brother to King Arthur. So then they go into a bonded bargain where they have to draw blood and give each other a drop of each other's magic. And in this bargain, they say, you agree to claim House Courbois for the length of your reign. And in exchange, House Courbois will not raise a challenge against you. For the length of your reign. There's something in there. It's going to be smartly worded. It will be. 100% it will be. She shouldn't have done it. She should not have gone into this bargain. She should not have. I'm so stressed about this bargain, and it hasn't been talked about. So they're going to try and make us forget about it, and then something's going to come of it. I just know that's going to happen. Ugh. He also wants to keep it a secret, which is like 10 out of 10. She should not have done this. I'm so stressed out. Oh, Diem. Diem is then moved to the royal chambers, and she's farther away from Luther, which she's like, bummer. And I'm like, girl, I get it. But she is closer to Sorey, and she's very happy about that. Now, her and Sorey can kind of like chat, like Sorey can understand her, but I really do wish that they could like actually speak to each other through the bond. I know that they can feel each other and that's really nice, but I would love to like know Sorey's personality because she's such a girl's girl and she's so vibrant and so like sassy that I wish we actually got to hear her thoughts through Diem. I'm kind of missing that. She's picking out a dress for the funeral and she picks a black dress and Sorey's like, girl, no. Then she picks out this like slutty red dress and Sorey's like, bitch, put it on. You look so good. And she's like, yeah, right. So she wears the black dress. Oh, Sorey and her go flying. She's having the time of her life while she's flying. And thank goodness, because 1 second later, she lands at this funeral. And wearing black is like the biggest faux pas in the history of Lumnos. Every single person is wearing red. It's so embarrassing. I was like, oh God. And all the mortals are wearing black. So by her wearing black, it looks like she aligns completely with the mortals. So bad. But Sorey, being a girl's girl, roars extremely loud and bows in front of her queen, which makes everybody follow suit. Now, Sorey, love you, girl. You always have Diem. But Diem says, all their bows and genuflex were for the crown above my head. They did not know me, they did not fear me, and they certainly did not respect me. And they don't like her because they keep saying things like she's not a real Corbois, completely disrespectful, she looks like a mortal. Like, it's so bad. She would have been better off wearing Luther's tunic and being covered in mud. Something about my girl Diem. She needs to ask more questions about being a descendant. As the funeral's going on, Eleanor's actually crashing out because she's like, I'm your advisor. I should have told you what to wear. This is so bad. And Diem's like, did you do it on purpose? She's like, no. And she's like, then I forgive you. And this will just make you a better advisor. You're going to realize I don't know anything about being a descendant. Like, people are giving her way too much credit. She needs to have no credit. She doesn't know anything about being a descendant or magic or mates or anything. And they wear red to reflect the soul going to the afterlife and that they're worthy. But her wearing black implies that she deems King Arthur's soul unworthy to go to the afterlife. Oh, it's painful. It's painful. It really is. Like, that whole funeral was so stressful. Also, why is everybody talking at this funeral? They were just like chit-chatting. I was like, is there no like talk after the funeral? I get that she's saying this was boring, but like, everybody's doing way too much for King Arthur's funeral. We also meet Taryn a little bit more officially, and I love him. He's like so funny. He's quick-witted. He's just like Diem in so many ways. And I just really liked his character. I thought he was so charming. He was refreshing, is a good word to use for him. He, after being around all these descended, him and Eleanor are just like the two most refreshing people within this palace. He then learned that King Arthur was gay, slay, and his mate was killed by a rival house, and he was in a bargain, okay? So this is why I feel like I need to dissect the bargain she made with Remus, because when they were bargaining for his life, the girl who poisoned Raphael, the one who poisoned Raph, said, I will give you an antidote, not the antidote. So then she gave him just an antidote and his mate died. And once you're mated, you cannot be with anybody else. Like, that is like true love. There's also one-sided mates where the person just has to suffer forever because if a person doesn't love them back, painful. And I'm scared that's gonna happen with Luther and Diem. I'm so scared. We then learn that any two descended can attempt the mating ritual, but the bonding magic will only work if your love is genuine and unconditional, and if you freely commit to stand by your mate forever in life and in death. Once you're mated, your heart is bound to your mate for eternity. You can never love anyone else. And Diem's like, I don't know if I agree with all of that, but I do believe in love. And I'm like, you're gonna be mated to Luther. God hope so. We then learn that Uncle Gareth has forbid royals from having mating bonds because they need to be like marriages to make the house stronger. So Diem is immediately like, that's gone. royal decree. And Uncle Gareth is like an absolute prick. Like, he's such a dick. And they're getting in like a tussle at this funeral. Diem goes turbo mode and she says, and when it does, you can beg for whatever scraps I give you, just like you did with Ulthar. Crazy. He's like, you sniveling little, like, let's call her a bitch, basically. And Luther's like, careful, uncle. She is queen and I am still keeper of the laws. Executions are my specialty, which is gag worthy. Uncle Gareth is like, so pissed off, he leaves, and she's like, oh shit, I definitely just made an enemy of him and I feel like I shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, you're making enemies every 5 seconds, DM. Like, I know you're a spitfire, but like sometimes you just got to play the game a little longer. DM then tells Eleanor about Henry and she is like, yay. It's like finding out your friend got engaged to the shitty boyfriend and you're like, I'm so happy for you. That's like so great. It's not great. He's crazy. And she's like, oh shit, if like my biggest confidant is reacting like that, how are other people gonna react? And I'm like, not well, babe. And I could have told you that from a mile away. Gareth, the sniveling little biatch, then says, I normally have the honor of lighting the pyre, but I would love to give you the honor. And you have to use your magic to light the pyre. So she is like, oh shit. Because you know what she hasn't been doing? Training her magic. And you know whose fault that isn't? Hers. Why is nobody helping her train her magic? Everyone's like, you could probably do that one day. I'm like, let's try. Let's test it out. Let's go back to the dungeon and blow something up again so she can practice her magic more than one time in the history of her 20 years of being alive. But then Gareth and Remus are like, well, Luther's told us all about your amazing magic and how strong you are. And she's devastated because she's like, I thought that was something like between you and me. Like, why do they know this? And he looks at her and says, Blessed Mother Lumnos chose you for a reason. She saw who you are and what you can be. Prove to all of them what she and I already know. You are capable of this and so much more. And he calls her Diem Bellator, which like sparks that fire in her. And he's like, unleash my queen. I love it when he calls her Diem Bellator, your majesty, my queen. He could call her anything and I'd eat it up. Oh my God. She's about to light the pyre. Like the magic is burning. Like it is burning up. And then she looks up and she sees Moira in the crowd and her dad. And her dad's crying. And she crashes out. It is like so embarrassing. She collapses to the floor. All the descendant of Lumnos are watching. There's mortals there that are watching. And at the end of the day, she's worn black to a funeral, which she shouldn't have done. She has no magic. And there's like really nothing about her that seems interesting to anybody. So people are going to be challenging her. Like it genuinely could not have gone worse. Sorey then comes flying over, lights the pyre, screams. Luther's like, get her out of here. She jumps on the back and she flies away. And my heart was like this. I thought somebody was gonna like challenge her there. They get back to the royal suite and Diem says, thank you for helping me. I know you don't have a choice, but thank you anyway. And it does make me think though, like I know that Sorey is bound to the crown, right? So she's always going to protect the crown, but there's something that feels a little more intimate and like deeper between Sorey and Diem. Because when King Ulthar was dying, it didn't really feel like Sorey was mourning. And like from the relationship that her and Diem have gotten in like a very short amount of time, it doesn't really make sense as to why she's like so protective over Diem, but then like was not very protective over Ulthar. Like he was dying in his bed and she was always like flying around and like doing anything but sitting by his bed. Where I feel like if Diem was dying in bed, Sorey would like lose the actual plot. So I'm curious about that. I feel like there's like a deeper thing there. I feel like she's actually protecting Diem and not just the crown. Andre shows up and thank goodness they immediately forgive each other. He's like, I'm still your father. She's like, I should never have said that. He's like, I also said things I shouldn't have said. She makes him the new advisor for the military, which like crazy decision, but like it's her dad and she needs people that she trusts. So I do get it. And they have this little chat. Sorey loves him, which makes me feel like his vibes and his energy are super good. And he also says, I have no idea who your father is, but I do know that your mom was planning a trip. So many secrets, so many lies. It's just so stressful to me. Alex and Luther then appear and there's an immediate respect between Alex and Andre. And Alex shows her magic where she can manipulate light to cause a visual illusion. So her father is like invisible. And he's like, you could learn that. And I'm like, Luther, teach her. Somebody teach Diem how to do a bit of magic that she can like, I don't know, light a candle. She can't do anything. Because nobody's teaching her. She doesn't know how to do anything. You don't know how to use magic. All of them were trained and they're behaving like she should just know how. Oh my God. The challenging is like gonna be days away. But Luther does agree it's not a bad idea to have Andre as an advisor, but it is a dangerous one. And I do agree with that. But when has DM ever hid away from a little bit of danger? Now, we do get told that what happened at the funeral really couldn't have been worse. Like, it was really bad. But she also says to Luther that she does trust him. And she says, he smiled, a true smile, broad and exquisite, his face radiating such matchless brilliance that I pitied the sun. Oh! So good. You pitied the sun? Oh, poetry, Penn. Tension is burning between Luther and DM. They are like in each other's arms, slowly but surely touching her back. Oh! She's like, I'm a coward, and she just hugs him, even though they were supposed to kiss. That should have been a kiss. But he hugs her back, and it's just like, I do love a hug. There's something so intimate about a hug. And it's like really beautiful. He's like kind of playing with her hair. She asks him why he's helping her. She's like, please just tell me, just tell me. And he's like going to tell her. And then there's a knock at the door. And it's Eleanor and Taryn. Now, I love these two. They are so fun. They're just like the comedic genius of the book. They just always know how to break the tension. But DM realizes her plan was to destroy the Descended and she didn't plan on making friends. Because these are people that she like is learning to love and actually care about, which is just going to complicate things so deeply. Luther's then like, how can I earn your favor? And DM's like, you need to apologize to Eleanor. And he's like, I'm sorry, cousin. And she's like, nah, you need to kneel. And he says, which had me clutching my pearls. With all due respect to my lovely cousin, the only person I'm getting down on my knees for is you, my queen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He does then get on his knees, begs for Eleanor's forgiveness, which she grants. They leave the room, and as they're standing at the door, DM stands on her tippy toes and gives Luther a kiss on the cheek, and he's like, and I was like, and she's like, now when you say it, like I did kiss you. And then, oh my God, I was like screaming. His hand curled into a fist, tugging at my hair. Gently, but enough to pull a gasp from my lips and an arch from my back. He leaned into my ear. If a kiss is the reward, my queen, I'll get on my knees for you whenever you want. I had to take a walk. No, the tension is growing. She gets invited to a party with all the cousins, which sounds like an absolute nightmare to me, but alas, she's like, should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? She's like 4 whiskeys deep mood. And Sori's like, you need to go. Without saying words, she's like, you need to go. And you need to wear the tiniest little dress in the history of the world that is tied together by the finest chains and is basically just covering your nipples. And she's like, you know what? I didn't trust you last time. I'm going to trust you this time. And my girl serves a look. She walks in to this event. There's 50 cousins there, all on this long table. And she's like, oh shit. But she's definitely dressed for the occasion. Everybody's like barely wearing anything, all the finery. And she's like, I don't need jewels. I've got a crown. And I was like... She's such a baddie. I love her. She walks into the room and Luther's like a wild dog looking at DM when she walks in. He like snaps and looks at her, stands up, and he's like, yabba dabba doo, with his tongue on the floor. And Eleanor says, this place is like a jungle, she said. They all think they're the deadliest creatures in the forest and they want to see where you fit in. You need to show them that you're not just a predator, you're the apex predator, and they can either join your pack or become your prey. Hell yeah. Eleanor's got such good advice. But Iana's there. And she's like holding on to Luther. Ugh. DM's stronger than me because I would have gone over there and been like, get your hands off me, man. But DM knows how to play the game. She puts her leg up between Eamon's legs and he's like helping with the knife and everybody's watching and they're like, this is scandalous. She takes the knife, slams it into the table and is like, in case I need it. Baddie. Baddie, addy, addy. She is so good. I just love everything about her. We then learn that Mother Lumnos herself had gray eyes. And everybody's like, Luther knows this because he's like her most devoted subject. I heard rumors that he has a full statue of Mother Lumnos in her room, and she's like, it's only a bust. And everybody's like, you were in the room. Iana crashes out. Good. They start talking about scars because she has a scar on her collarbone, and Iana's like, scars are horrible. Like, Luther promised me that he would go to Fortos and get them removed before he became king. And Diem says, a scar is a sign of survival, I continued, of endurance. It's a sign that its bearer triumphed over what might have killed a lesser person. To show off your scars is to tell the world you're not ashamed of what you've overcome. Frankly, I can't imagine any better symbol of strength. And if Luther were my king, then I would make him swear to me he would never remove it. I would hope he wore it with pride for the rest of his life. Go get your mans, Diem. Cousins are then saying that Luther and Diem would be like a perfect marriage match because of their power. And Diem's kind of like, maybe. And Luther's like, I plan on serving my queen, not marrying her. And Diem's like, and so was I. I was like, what the fuck was that, Luther? You're always trying to kiss her. Why are you saying that? Probably to protect her from something. Aemon and her are like not really forming a friendship per se, but there's like a comfort there. I think he is smarter than he looks. He knows how to play the game, and he is protecting her throughout this conversation with the other cousins, because Diem turns and Luther and Iana are gone. I would have gone and found them, hunted them down like a rat. Eleanor is then so proud of her. They leave the party arm in arm, just two gals leaving a party together. She's like, you did amazing. Diem's thankful for Aemon and Eleanor's help, and she also lets her know that Aemon is aware of Henry. They turn the corner and Luther is stood outside Diem's room. Now she goes up and the guards are there. One of the guards is like, you can't come in unless she says you can. And it's like the first time a guard is like really stood up for her. And it's Perth, the guy who broke his legs and was on the other guy like a sled in the armory. And he's like, when I found out that you were queen, I asked to join your royal guard because there's no one I want to serve more than you. Love Perth. I think he is going to die for her somewhere in this book. He then is like, he can come in. They come inside. She trips. He grabs her, throws her on the bed, and he's like painstakingly, slowly removing her shoes. And there's this game, again, this push and pull. They're toying with each other. The sexual energy in this room is a 10 out of 10. They're playing with each other. He's staring her dead in the eyes. She's like, two can play at this game. So she's like, 1 point for me, 0 for Luther. He's like, give me your other leg. She gives it to him and he says, good girl. And she's like, 1 point Diem, 1,000 points to Luther. And I'm like, I would have folded like a lawn chair. Good girl from Prince Luther. Yeah. And then he stood between her legs and he's like, shall I get back down on my knees and earn my kiss? And she's like, I don't think your lover would like that. And he's like, I don't think yours would either. Water bucket. Immediate sexual energy gone. She's pissed. She puts a robe on and they start getting in a lover's quarrel, if you will. They just need to tell each other they love each other and then we can get over this and it'll be fine. She's begging for some honesty from him. And he says, how can you say I haven't been honest with you? There are things I've told you that I haven't even confessed to Lily or Taryn. But Diem says, well, if that's true, then how pathetic indeed that your closest friends and family know less about you than someone you are nothing to. That's not true. Diem's always like, it's the same thing about when she said, you're not my father. She doesn't mean it. She just says it. He's like, that's a low blow. You need to realize that everyone uses everyone, not just the descended, and especially that pathetic mortal little boy. Pathetic mortal little boy. You're speaking my language because that's exactly what Henry is. And then we finished with these two quotes. Do not mistake my support as agreement with your choices, he snapped. Outside this room, I will stand by any decision you make. I will shed my blood to protect you from any threat, even my own family. His features warped with disgust. I'll give my life to protect him if that is your command. He jabbed a finger toward the door. Out there, I will do anything you ask of me, anything. But here, in private, do not expect me to hold my tongue. While you give your heart to a man you had to beg to keep from walking away. His glare sharpened. A man who only agreed to marry you when you offered him a throne. He read her for filth. She's like, you were eavesdropping. And he's like, yeah, bitch. It's my duty to keep you safe. And then he says, it's my job to know the true motives of the people closest to you. I will keep you safe and I will not apologize for it. Not now, not ever. He roughly cupped my face in his hands, his fingers clinging to my skin like he might fall to his death if he ever let me go. Not even if you despise me, not even if I am nothing to you, because my calling comes from a higher authority than even you can claim, your majesty. Lumnos? Could it be? Did he have like a vision? I feel like they've talked. I feel like he knows the Blessed Mother. And then Diem says, every moment with Luther felt like a tug of war against fate. Every look, every touch felt weighted with an ominous heft. Like each one held some deeper, unseen consequence that went far beyond the two of us. It was as exhilarating as it was terrifying, and for once I was sick of fighting it, sick of fighting him. She leans in to kiss him, the door slams, he's gone. And that's where we ended off. I'm sick. This feels like the type of fight that like is gonna take a while to come back from, but I think she's realizing that she might love him. What did we think of these chapters? Because I, for one, am so enthralled with this book, I can't get enough. And yet again, I'm going to turn off this camera and immediately start reading. Now, our book boyfriend of the week is a bit of a surprise. I'm giving it to Taryn. I loved the funeral scene. Sounds crazy, but I love his energy. I love his vibe. And I felt like he was so charming and sweet and lovely. And he wins the award this week. Good job, Taryn. Our power scale starts with Eleanor on the bottom because she unfortunately didn't do a good job and she did not advise Diem to wear red. Then we have Diem because my girl crashed out at the pyre and I don't think anybody really respects her at the moment. So she has some work cut out for her to get back to number one. Then we have Luther because my man can control a room. He's so sexy. I just love him. And then we have Eamon. I know, I'm surprised as well, but I felt his power amongst the 50 cousins was so intense that I'm very excited for the ball and to see what comes with that. Guys, I just had a thought. I know that I said earlier that I feel like the Guardians are planning something. Henry knows about the ball. I think there's going to be an attack. Oh my God. I just realized that something's going to happen at that ball and it's going to be Henry related and kids are going to die and Diem's never going to forgive him or Henry's going to come for her life at the ball. I'm gagged. Our spice meter this week was a 2 out of 5 because of that shoe scene. That was sexy, man. Oh, it can't be lower than a 2 if good girl is used. But our tension is a 4 because that push and pull and the tension between Luther and Diem is boiling hot. Our quote of the week is one of my favorites and it is, "But rest assured, my queen, when I do kiss you, there will be no confusion. You will know that I have claimed you and I won't have any desire to deny it." The use of when and not if, one Prince Luther quote of the week. Wonderful use of words, my friend. Now, everybody's favorite time of week, would I survive these chapters of Glow of the Everflame? Starting off with chapter 11, yes, I would survive begging my mortal boyfriend to be king. Ugh. But I might die of embarrassment later on when I realize it. Chapter 12, yes, I would survive getting let in on Luther's biggest secret and seeing the Book of the Immortal Children. Chapter 13, yes, I would survive having a cry sesh with my mortal brother in the dungeons. Chapter 14, yes, I would survive meeting the ex, even if she's a hot warrior woman. I'd survive it. Chapter 15, yes, I would survive a meeting with Remus and joining a bonded bargain. Oh, though I think it would come back to haunt me. Chapter 16, yes, I would survive a ride on Sore's back and wearing black to a funeral when I should have worn red. Chapter 17, yes, I would survive watching a funeral, having some chats with my new friends, and getting in a little bit of a heated discussion with Uncle Gareth. Chapter 18, yes, I would survive not being able to light the pyre and seeing my dad crying in the audience. Oh, it was so bad though. Chapter 19, yes, I would survive making amends with my father. Chapter 20, yes, I would survive a lovely, passionate hug with Prince Luther. Yeah. I'd survive that. Chapter 21, yes, I would survive a gorgeous little quaint dinner party with 50 of my closest cousins. And chapter 22, yes, I would survive having Luther take my shoes off and getting into a little bit of a fight with him. Although I feel like my heart would be a little broken. I survived every chapter this week. Can we imagine? I don't think that's ever happened. I hope you enjoyed the reading this week. I sure did. I am loving Glow of the Everflame, the characters, the storyline, and I can't wait to see what's to come. Let me know your thoughts about these chapters. When is Aurelia coming back? And do you guys also think that Henry is going to attack at the ball? I guess we'll probably find out next week. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us at Lore Book Club on Instagram and TikTok, where I post funny little videos every single day. For next week, please read chapters 23 to 34, and I will see you next week. Happy reading. Love you guys. Bye.